So I want to welcome you guys in. I'm really excited today to introduce you to Travelers. We're diving into Travelers and how they are a company that truly sees, values, and champions military spouses and veterans. If you've ever wondered what it's like to work somewhere that understands the challenges of military life and celebrates the unique strengths that we bring to the table, you are in the right place. We are going to kind of transition now into speaking with our guests. So I want to introduce you to Britany Alaimo, a VirtForce community member and a senior coverage specialist at Travelers. Britany found Travelers about 2.5 years ago through VirtForce and hasn't looked back since. Britany, welcome.
Hi, Felicia. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're so glad to have you. So why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so my husband is active duty Coast Guard, going on 16 years now. So the past 15, 16 years, I've had my babies, been a stay-at-home mom, worked part-time here and there. And our most recent PCS was to Paducah, Kentucky, and that's where I am currently sitting right now. So with all of our kids, not babies anymore, school-age kids in school full-time, we started to take the opportunity to say, okay, it's time to get a big girl job and look for full-time work. And that's when I came into contact with VirtForce.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the thought of not having to put your career on the back burner anymore is something that I'm sure will resonate with so many of our community members. Drop a thumbs up in the chat if you are excited and you feel that not having to put your career on the back burner. So we can feel the shift coming in your journey, Britany. So let's hear, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I was part of a couple of Facebook groups and somebody had posted something about remote work and VirtForce kept popping up everywhere. Join VirtForce, join VirtForce, VirtForce. So I joined, I filled out my little information questionnaire and I saw that they were posting for Travelers insurance and Travelers came up a lot. So I was really interested because it was fully remote. So I applied for one of the positions through the VirtForce website and I passed the assessment. And then after I used the advocacy form that VirtForce provides for us to fill out so that they can, look into, all right, you applied for the job and then reach out to Travelers and basically advocate for us. I got an interview and it's been 2.5 years since. When I started, it was about 3 months of training. And then I started full-time on the phones in about March or April. I started in November and then full-time on the phones, March and April. And by the end of my first year, I was number 20 for the company in sales in my department. So it's been really great. The second year and moving on after that, the second year, I basically became my manager's go-to for solving issues. And I do a lot of coaching and mentoring to new hires right now.
That's incredible. So in your first year, you were top 20 sales and able to kind of promote from there, right?
There's so many opportunities and stuff. And, I'm passionate about helping people succeed and grow within Travelers because they provide that platform to be able to do so. And basically from there, I got promoted to a senior coverage specialist. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth within Travelers itself. So it's really amazing.
I love that. Congratulations on your promotion, being accepted into the upcoming lead program. One of the really important things for us at VirtForce is finding companies that support that career progression, encouraging military spouses into leadership and growing. So I am so impressed and I am so excited for you. Your story of finding a great career with developmental opportunities is so inspirational. And I know that's going to resonate really well with a lot of people. So I want to introduce you guys to Nick Prue, Talent Acquisition Manager at Travelers. Nick, welcome in.
Hi there, happy to be here.
So Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to at Travelers?
Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you for having me. As mentioned, my name is Nick. I work here at Travelers based in Hartford, Connecticut. Been here at Travelers for coming up on 3 years. Currently working as a talent acquisition strategic sourcing manager, specifically supporting military and veteran recruitment initiatives. So very closely tied to VirtForce and all military spouse
Mhm.
hiring needs that we've worked together on for the last 5 years, if not more. That obviously predates me, but looking forward to getting to know everyone.
Thank you so much, Nick. We work really closely with Nick. A lot of times when you guys do use that advocacy form, I am reaching out to Nick and some other members of his team as well. Nick, I would love to touch on some of what Brittany was talking about. So, growth and support, what does that look like at Travelers?
Yeah, so growth is a huge focus here at Travelers. We want our team members to see a long-term career here. We don't view it as just a job. We view it as an opportunity for advancement and growth. The roadmap for longevity for personal and professional development is very important. And we take that as an opportunity for when we find great talent, we want you to stay. And we, recognize that community is a huge part of that. We bring that into the fold, into our culture and atmosphere here, so that you feel that sense of community regardless of where you're located working one of our roles. As mentioned, programs like the LEAD program give high potential employees a clear path to leadership with tools, mentorship, and support. And internal mobility is encouraged. Whether someone starts on the phones or in a support role, we're actively looking for ways to help them grow. We see it as one of those items in everyone's career, regardless of your circumstances, that it's inevitable. You're going to want to pursue more and, experience that feeling of fulfillment. So.
I love that. Thank you so much. Everything that Nick is sharing is spot on. Brittany's story isn't just a one-off. So many of our community members who've joined Travelers have experienced that same support, growth, and encouragement to rise through the ranks. Let's talk about the benefits, Nick. So what makes Travelers a great place to land for military-connected people?
Yeah, so there's a lot to offer, here at Travelers. First and foremost, like I mentioned, the community, which I know for, military spouses is obviously very important. So, that is first and foremost, at the forefront of our minds as we, look to hire military spouse talent. But beyond that, comprehensive training programs, there's no need to come in with industry experience. And as we mentioned, we want you to grow at Travelers. So we offer career coaching, mentorship, development resources, and that's all from day one. There's no great grace period of 30, 60, 90 days or anything like that. Those things are all available to you immediately. That strong community, like I said, you're part of a team that genuinely cares. And we've made some of our non-remote roles fully remote for our VirtForce active duty spouses, which is, an important item to highlight. And as far as our success, it goes without saying, I mean, we've hired over 300 military spouses for remote roles since 2020. And in 2025, we've hired roughly 30 military spouses from VirtForce. So, we're definitely not only are we talking the talk, but we're putting it into practice as well.
I love that. That's amazing. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Nick. Let's talk about jobs. What roles are we talking about today?
Yeah, so a couple of the roles that we currently have, pinned for military spouse hiring efforts are an Insure Match sales advisor trainee position with a projected start date of 6/16 or 7/7. And then we also have that same role as a sales advisor trainee, but for bilingual as well. So, don't let it fool you with the words around the title with Insure Match and things like that. I know that can sometimes from an optics standpoint be a little confusing. We'll explain that. But these are great roles to get your foot in the door. Get a baseline foundation of what insurance is, what the industry is all about. And then, like I said, it has that opportunity for growth. And this is going to give you that framework for success.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys, we are going to drop the links for these roles in the chat now. Using these links will automatically mark you as a VirtForce candidate in the Travelers system, so you don't have to worry about having to notate that anywhere else. If you don't apply through these links, but you've already applied, or you forget to use these links, make sure you email us hire@virtforce.us so that we can help check on you and advocate for you. And then don't forget, with every application, you have to complete a timed assessment. It takes about 18 minutes, if I recall correctly. And we have a YouTube video all about that too. So we'll drop that in the chat. Nick, with these roles, what are you guys looking for candidates to stand out?
Yeah, so definitely, strong attention to detail, the ability to multitask, which is one of those things that amongst the military spouse community, I think multitasking is already a strong suit, to say the least. I should put in there, but definitely the strong attention to detail, self-starter, highly motivated, and looking to take initiative. That's where one of those things that we look for, because myself as a recruiter, and I can speak for a lot of other recruiters, is that it's oftentimes indicative of someone who wants to grow, which is what we look for at a company like Travelers, because it speaks to our culture. It's the longevity of the folks that have been here for quite some time, and we're looking for individuals that want that same type of path. So those soft skills are very important, and customer service, very willing to show personality, and be able to put yourself not only in your shoes that you would actively be in that role, but also put yourself in the shoes of the person that you may be speaking to, whether that's verbally or in a written capacity. How could that be received from the other end? So those are some very important items to consider.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about that. And for the bilingual role, is that one specific bilingual language or a multitude?
I am actually going to pass it over to my colleague, Patrick, who I know for a fact can answer that question for you. I don't want to mislead anyone.
Yeah,
thank you.
It will vary from time to time. At this time, we're looking for Spanish.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So you guys at Travelers do hire for different bilingual roles
From time to time. It's not as frequent. Generally speaking, it would be Spanish. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for popping on. Thank you, guys. I'm super excited. We're going to transition into Q&A now.
So the first, I think this was answered, but I do want to make sure you captured it, was when applying, where do I share that we are applying as a military spouse? So if you apply through the links that were dropped, or the links that were sent to you from VirtForce, the system will automatically grab that. If you happen to apply through another means, you can select VirtForce as a source of hire on the website. So I would choose that. Should anyone that applies receive an assessment form? The answer is it depends on the role you're applying for. But for the InsureMatch advisor trainee and bilingual advisor trainee, you absolutely should. But not every position requires an assessment. I will say that if you apply to a role that is an assessment-based position, you should receive an automated message almost immediately, within 12 to 24 hours, saying that you will be sent information on the assessment. So that's kind of your trigger. There are, sorry, I'm looking through them. We've answered a lot of them.
Fine. With the assessment, we talked about this before. It's timed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it takes, 18, 20 minutes, or is there a cutoff time?
It takes about 18 to 20 minutes. It is mobile enabled for this role, and for most roles are mobile enabled. So you don't necessarily need a desktop or a laptop to complete it. Although we would recommend that you're in a place where you can really focus and concentrate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Grace, why don't you come off of mute and ask your question?
I have a couple questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Britany, is your role that you were speaking of that you are currently in, is that part of an HR role?
It is not. So I work in,
Okay.
I'm a coverage specialist. So I work in, we call it like retention sales. So I work with existing customers looking for new policies they may need.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I was curious about that just because of the training of the new employees portion of it, and so
Mhm.
that's what leaned my question in that direction. I am also curious, Mr. Nick, do you know if there are any HR assistant positions or specialist positions that are open within VirtForce? I took a look at your website and saw that there was one in a southern state, but I'm not in the southern state at the moment. And then there was one in London, but I'm not sure if that would be possible since I'm not physically there.
Yeah, so I do not believe so at this point in
Okay.
time, but we absolutely do not, that we don't want that to discourage you from, continuing to review those openings and even, joining our talent community, as well as that is where we, as recruiters and talent acquisition, at large are going to be, referring to, when those roles do come about. So, definitely, continue to consider, those and, put your name into that talent community, because that is ultimately where we're going to be able to find you, without having to rely on timing of, you catching the right role and applying and then us seeing you. So, definitely take a look
Okay.
at that.
How would I join a talent community?
So if you go to our careers page, and if you want, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I know I put my link in there and I can walk you through it. But
Okay.
if you go through our careers page, you will find an area where there's an opportunity to do that. So, but again,
Okay,
please feel
I'll
free to
do that.
reach out to me. I can help you with that.
Oh, well, thank you. One last question. I am currently finishing up an APHR or an Associate Professional HR certification course. Would you suggest any other knowledge that I could take on before ending up in an HR role that would be beneficial?
I'll open that up to my peers as well. Jen, Patrick, do you have any
Okay.
insight on that?
I think that's a great start. I think it really will ultimately depend on kind of what directions you look to go within your HR career and your HR journey. But I think that's a great start, and it should give you a leg up on a good number of applicants.
Okay, well, thank you. I very much appreciate it.
Sure.
I'm happy to take on. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say thank you guys so much for answering all of her questions. I know that we've got a ton of questions coming through the chat. I'm going to start at the top and work our way through. And then as the Travelers team feels comfortable with answering those questions, or myself, we will get your questions answered. So we do have a question from Tammy. What's the average onboarding timeline for a candidate from close of listing to start date? Sorry, I thought it said Colorado at first.
Yeah. So that will vary greatly depending on the position. But what I would say by and large, so if we take the InsurMatch advisor positions, or some of you are familiar with Travelers may have seen some billing positions or service positions, those we generally will post on about a 12-week cycle. Now, it's not an exact science, it's art and science. But they will all have starting class dates, because we generally like to bring a full cohort in at the same time. But by general rule of thumb, the start date is usually 12 weeks after the posting date, with some variability. We do try to make all of our offers on most of these positions, so get through the full cycle within the final, before 2 weeks prior to start date. Now that's not always a possibility, and we generally don't let that sway whether or not we're going to make somebody an offer. But that way we like to give people a proper amount of time to put in notice if they have to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so with that timeline and that varied timeline, you guys often bring on a ton of cohorts. And if you guys are in the VirtForce Facebook group for the community members here on our call today, you will see that a lot of the members who are in VirtForce and apply to Travelers and get hired will connect with each other in that Facebook group. They'll say, hey, I'm starting on such and such date. And then you'll see a stream of thread underneath it of people who are also starting on that date, which is really nice, because then you kind of have a virtual buddy, so to speak, that you're going through that is in the same lifestyle as you, which is really exciting and fun to see there in the VirtForce Facebook group. So we have another question. Jennifer, I'm going to butcher your last name. Jennifer Tremini, I think. Are there any part-time positions ever available with Travelers? And I believe that is a no. It's typically full-time positions, correct, Patrick?
Yeah, that's correct. In very, very, very rare circumstances, we'll see part-time positions. So generally, no, they'd all be full-time.
Wonderful, thank you. So we've got, we answered that question. If you did not hear earlier, not every role has an assessment, but these specific roles do have an assessment. And if you are using the VirtForce links, you are automatically tagged as a VirtForce military spouse. But you can also use their job source dropdown to be listed as a VirtForce candidate.
The only other thing I would add, there was a question in there about potentially, where do we ask for potentially a remote role if we are out of the area that's requested? It's a great question that we often get. What I would say is one of two things. Generally speaking, if you're seeing that link through VirtForce, we are fully aware that you are likely outside of the posting location. And again, that application will come through the recruiters, the team in the back end will see that you're coming through VirtForce, and they'll understand right from the get that you are likely looking for a remote role. Now, it's important, and I do want to just stress that if you're clicking on the position that came from the link from VirtForce. Other positions, they may see you're in VirtForce, you may have a conversation with a recruiter that says, unfortunately, this is not eligible for a remote type role. That's okay too. It's a good conversation to have with the recruiter. The second is if you are browsing the website, and it's a position that's not through VirtForce, and you can see there is a remote listing, and if you see remote, feel free to apply. Now, it's not necessarily a position that is remote for just military spouses. However, I'd encourage you to apply to it if it's a position that is eligible for remote, which you'll see in other areas.
Wonderful, thank you. That's such a great point out. And we do have a link on the VirtForce job board that takes you to the entirety of Travelers' career business areas. So if you are looking for something outside of what we're talking about today, make sure you go peruse. If you need to connect with us, hire at virtforce.us, and we can help you figure out, is this remote? Is it not remote? And that way you're on the right track.
And we have a great relationship with Felicia and team. They will come to us if they have questions from you or through you also. So
yes, we try to get those out as quickly as they come in as well, so that you guys aren't waiting. So this question is from Emily. This may be a broad and not just Travelers related question, but is there some way to have some help with deciding a new career with a previous degree within a totally different work experience? I might have to read that one again. This may be broad and not just for Travelers. So Emily, are you looking for pivoting from one career area to another? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. So if you are concerned or confused about like where to pivot to, feel free to reach out to us, hire at virtforce.us. We're happy to have that background conversation with you and say, hey, what have you done? Tell me your backstory, and where do you see that future momentum taking you, and then helping you sort of weave your way through the listings that are available as well as options. Does that help answer your question, Emily? Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's a great question, because I know a lot of us are pivoting, and sometimes that's just part of the military spouse lifestyle. If you do need help with that, we're here to support you. So from Jamie, are there specific roles that are good for those with military experience and a bachelor's degree? Patrick, Nick, who wants that one?
I can take that one. Yeah, so that we definitely have roles that are very, transferable with a military skill set, and especially a bachelor's degree too. But even more so on the military, skill set side of things, we've identified a lot of roles, within the organization that there is an opportunity to, utilize some of those skills, such as risk control, our claim team, auto adjuster or property adjuster, whatever it may be. And those are just to name a few. One of the things that we point out specifically with risk control is That is, a team that, a lot of times is doing health and safety and environmental health, safety risk assessments. Risk assessments is obviously something that's, done every day in the military. So, we see that opportunity, and that is, one of a handful of places where we've seen success.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that we've also had some success with the catastrophe team as well, which is really exciting. I love hearing those stories when they come through my inbox. Christina, did that help answer your question? Awesome. Thank you so much. So Jamie asks, she currently works in finance for the government. Are there roles of travelers that would be a great fit for her? So anybody with a finance background, pivoting into a career at Travelers, what would that look like?
Yeah, I think it could depend on a couple of factors. I mean, we do have a corporate home office and a back office. Now, generally, a lot of those positions would be hybrid positions, either Connecticut or Minnesota based. And I use the word generally, it's not always the case. We do sometimes see finance professionals pivot into a career with bond underwriting, which is an interesting switch that if you have that finance background, you may want to look into bond underwriting or surety underwriting. Those are generally all field-based and territory positions because you're working with kind of a subset of brokers in a location. But that's where I'd recommend you start.
Awesome, thank you so much. So if somebody wants to start their career in, say, August, how many weeks prior to that start date should they start to do the application process with Travelers?
Yeah, I would say as soon as you see that posting, that looks right. Awesome. Is the short of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the 12-week cycle, we're generally looking, if you saw a position go up tomorrow, we're probably looking for a start sometime in August.
Wonderful, thank you. And I have to echo that as well, right? Sometimes it's a timing thing. So if you are applying right away, you can be one of the first people reviewed or seen, invited to an interview. Whereas if you're one of the last people to apply, they may fill up those interview slots ahead of being able to review you fully. So definitely, as soon as you see those links go up and there's a job that you're interested in, get that application in.
Yeah, I can rapid fire a couple other ones that came through if you want, Felicia.
Go ahead.
I think one was, should I go ahead and get my license? I mean, if you'd like to, great, go for it. We will pay for your licensing though, within InsureMatch specifically, and most of our sales roles, actually, I think any of our sales roles, if you're not licensed and it's a trainee role, they will pay for your licensing. There was another question, will I be compensated during training? Absolutely. You'll be compensated during training. You'll be compensated during the licensing process. And then, does the interview process consist of multiple stages? Generally, yes, it'll be at least 2 stages, sometimes 3. The 2 stages, you'll probably have an initial conversation with a talent acquisition professional, somebody on my team, to give you just a broad overview of the position, understand kind of what you're looking for, and talk a little bit more detail about some of your experiences. And then at least one other interview with the hiring team or the direct hiring manager, sometimes 2.
Yeah, so with that pre-screening phone call that they're doing, that first initial phone connection, is there anything that they should talk about specifically to help them stand out during that process?
Yeah, I would be prepared to really talk through your interest in the opportunity, what you know about Travelers, why you feel like this role is a good fit for you, and then any experiences you have that you feel that you can relate to the role you're applying to.
Awesome. That's such great advice. Sometimes we look at our experience and we're like, this doesn't match, right? But there's that cross functionality, customer service skills, communication skills, and different aspects that you can bring to the table and talk about in that conversation to sort of help yourself stand out and give that alignment.
Hey,
So thank you so much for talking
Felicia,
about that.
can I jump in real quick? I'm sorry. I'm going to piggyback onto this conversation too. As you're thinking about that first phone call with the recruiter to talk about your experience and your interest in the role, my advice would be to familiarize yourself with behavioral interviewing. And forgive me, Felicia, if you guys already talk about this, but I would just go out to Google and Google like the top 10 most popular behavioral interview questions. Take a look at those and prepare how you would respond to those. That will set you apart from others. So just my simple plug for all of you.
I love that. That is great advice. So when it comes to pay, I have a few questions here. Sharia wants to know, is it commission-based pay? So how does that all look for these roles?
Yeah, it is not commission-based pay. There are some roles where there is a sales bonus attached to it. I will tell you the InsureMatch sales positions, and I'd encourage you, I'm sure you guys have the recording from when Seth was on last year, who is our one of our leaders in InsureMatch. What they will tell you is they specifically have designed the role in the organization so that you can earn sales bonuses. However, a majority of your salary will be a base salary. And they do that because we don't want individuals to feel unnecessarily certain pressures to push product on customers. And it's very intentional in the way they do it. So there is a sales bonus based on individual performance and different levels. However, it is not a commission-based role.
Wonderful. So it's kind of like that extra perk, right? It's not something that you have in your everyday pay, but it can help pay for a really great vacation.
You're exactly right.
So what does Travelers consider as full-time? How many hours per week? What does that look like for a role?
Yep, standard 40-hour work week.
Awesome. So nothing too crazy. You're working your shift, you're moving through the motions, and then PTO is included in the benefits. And I know we talked about that earlier too.
Yeah, and the expected shift times might change and vary from role to role, but that's part of what you would cover with that recruiter on that first conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We have a question. If somebody is working stateside and they're hired, we get this question a lot. Can they take their role overseas? And at this time, that is not something that is able to happen. And that's based on the legalities and the privacy acts and different things that are in place right now. But if that changes, you guys will be the first to know.
Yeah.
Belinda, you want to go ahead and come off mute and ask your question?
Hi, my question's actually related to getting hired state region, I guess, because I currently had a job that was for 3 years, and the problem that I'm currently having is it'll go with one state when I get hired, but when we move to another state, they don't transfer. So I know Patrick had said it kind of like depends on the roles for like brokers and stuff, but if it's for customer service or like sales or like entry level, are you guys willing to transfer states, or is that also just kind of depends on what you're hired for? Because the last job that I had, again, we were like in Virginia for 1 year, we moved to Florida for 1 year, we went to Texas for 1 year, and then we went back to Florida, and then we're going to California for 6 months. So it's been kind of impossible for me to find a job that like lets me move.
Yeah. Any of the roles that we send through to VirtForce that will make it through to you through VirtForce are portable state to state. So if you're in the role and you're, PCS to a different location, and Britany, I don't know, you might be able to speak to some internal experiences that some of your peers have had, but the organization and all of the managers that are hiring for these roles are familiar with the process. They're familiar with what that looks like and feels like for you as an individual, moving you or your family from a different location. So they're very used to working with you on that and with that process. But yes, they will port it from state to state. The only exception would be, unfortunately, international. If you were moved overseas, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to support that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was just for state. We haven't gone international yet, but that's what I've been having trouble with, is legitimately like from Florida to Texas. We went back to Florida, and now we're going to California for like 6 months, and then we're going somewhere else. And it's been so challenging. They're like, no, we don't do California. So I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And just to reiterate, Travelers does hire in all of the continental and Alaska and Hawaii, correct?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Thank you. So if somebody applies for a position, they either don't pass the assessment or maybe they don't pass their interview, their nerves get the best of them. How long should they wait before they apply again?
So the assessment, well, if I could break those into two separate questions. In terms of if the interview doesn't go well and you see another opportunity that looks good, I'd encourage you to apply right away. If from an assessment perspective, now there are a few different assessments. So there is a service assessment, there is a claim assessment. So, but there is a 6-month cool down period. So if you don't pass the assessment, you wouldn't be eligible to retake that assessment and pass it for a 6-month period of time.
Wonderful. Thank you for the explanation there.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you guys that as you guys, if you aren't doing an interview and you're not doing it well and it didn't go the way that you hoped it would go, take a step back. Go through the VirtForce resources on how to stand out in an interview. We have a great course called Ace That Virtual Interview, and I would highly recommend it because it's going to help you create that presence, answer those questions, and feel like your best self when you're interviewing with employers.
There was another question earlier. Does Travelers offer non-sales positions? The sales positions are what we happen to have available at the moment, but keep an eye out. We do often see service and billing type positions, as well as underwriting from time to time.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've had some engineers, some software engineers, some tech roles here or there as well that have been remote and that have kind of come through the ranks. So it's not just sales, it's not only sales. Those are just what we're highlighting today.
Yeah, and that CAT group you mentioned, I'd keep an eye out for CAT. That's an exciting, interesting group.
It really is. And the stories that they have and the excitement that they have on helping people in those moments of need it's always very touching and warming. So I love that role too. When it comes to the products that Travelers sells, insurance policies, do you guys do life insurance policy or is it P&C? What is it? Is it strictly P&C?
Strictly P&C. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's keep going here. So
we do hire in California for someone who asked. Now, what I would say is if you're looking for a role specifically in California, if you feel like you're rooted in California, many of the positions, and we have offices in Walnut Creek, we have up and down California in several different locations. Many of them, if they are listed as hybrid, might be territory positions. So if you're rooted in California, that's great. Otherwise, if it is something that comes again through VirtForce and you're in California, it's something that you can be remote for. So I would encourage you to apply to that.
Definitely. Thank you so much. So we have a question from a team member, candidate, excuse me, Samantha. She's interested in the underwriting professional development program that's hiring at her location in August. She's applied, identified that she's VirtForce, and done the advocacy form on our side. Is there anything else she can do in the time while she's waiting to help herself stand out?
So I would say now it's a UPDP position in a specific location. Now that is likely, I don't want to talk out of turn. I don't know if I'm familiar with it. It is likely a territory-based position. And so will likely remain in that geography. I'm just going to ask Felicia and team just to grab it and I can send a note over to the team. We can take a look at that application. What I will say about UPDP positions, they are some of the most competitive positions in the organization, up and down. So I say that as a form of encouragement. We often see 3-4 swipes at it before somebody is selected. So, but they're incredibly competitive.
Wonderful. And I can see why those are competitive. So Samantha, make sure you email us, hire@virtforce.us, and we'll get your information over to Patrick and Nick so that we can follow up on that as well. So Marlo, I understand that Travelers has both in-office and remote positions, hybrid positions, right? So are there any accommodations specifically for military spouses, even if the position isn't listed as remote or hybrid? So that's going to go back to those roles that come straight, through VirtForce. Those are all remote for military spouses, and they'll remain remote for military spouses as you've been brought in. If it's anything outside of those roles that we're directly distributing to you guys, if it doesn't say remote, there's no guarantee that it can be remote. Do you want to dive into that again, Patrick, a little bit more?
No, I think, you know what? Unfortunately, there is a subset of positions within the organization that we really need to be within a territory. And so it's not to say that if you feel comfortable that you are going to be in a location for a period of time and you want to apply, absolutely you could. Unfortunately, a lot of those roles, though, wouldn't be portable. So you might be in a position like, Melinda had mentioned, where you wouldn't be able to take that role with you if you were PCS to another location.
Wonderful. Thank you for explaining that. So Angie has a really great question as well. She has previous P&C experience, but it was a while ago. Should she still add this to her resume?
Still
Absolutely.
count. Yeah, please. Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely say, and coming from someone directly looking at military veteran spouse resumes every single day, it's part of my role. Is whatever you have, whatever your experience is, put it in there. Especially as a military spouse, one of the things that we've accepted and adopted is how we look at the resumes, because we understand what the personal commitment is as a military spouse and why there may be a gap on the resume and why some experience might be from early in a career or an entirely different career. We want to see it, we want to understand it, and I can't speak for all companies, but I can speak for myself, and our recruiters here, that's how we look at those resumes. So I would encourage you to absolutely put it in there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about working with travelers, is that you have created this culture that understands what we do and how we live, and that my title at this place might not be the same as this place, but you're looking at more than just the baseline titles and job descriptions. So I love that about working with you guys.
Can I say something quick too?
Yes.
So I just want to say, I came into this role, I didn't have any insurance experience, guys. Like I didn't have any experience in the insurance world. I did have customer service experience, working retail, my resume could be a mile long, all the odds and ends jobs that I've had. But don't, when you see these positions, don't think, oh, I have no experience in that, I can't do that. Sales, what is that? How am I going to sell something? Really, I do a lot in my one position. I do customer service. I'm selling policies. I'm writing policies. I'm helping with billing. I'm helping new hires in my position, things like that. So any experience that you have, don't think that it's just going to, totally put out the sales role for you, that you're not going to get it. They train you. They give you the tools that you need to be successful in your position. So it is a great opportunity. So I just wanted to let everyone know that, because I feel like, coming into this too, I was a little hesitant, because I'm like, insurance, what am I going to do with that? But I love it now. I love it. It's great. And they really give you the tools to be successful.
I love that. Thank you so much. What a great add-on. It's true, right? We all have this sort of, somebody said it in the chat, patchwork resume that we work with. And Travelers really does look at that and look at the big picture. They're seeing the whole quilt. They're not just seeing the patches. So definitely include your experience, apply. If you're confused, if you're a fit, ask us. hire@virtforce.us. We're happy to say, like, hey, tweak this, say this, don't include that experience, or yes, include that experience, and everything like that.
We've partnered with VirtForce for a long time. They know us pretty well, and they're a great resource for you.
Thank you. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to piggyback on that too. Like, I know obviously, we're sitting in this room and we obviously want, all of you to come for your travelers. We're an employer. That's our ultimate goal. But it goes without saying that obviously you're going to be entertaining other opportunities, and something to keep in mind is you don't necessarily need the expertise within that particular industry to be successful. We've had people here at Travelers, employees that have been here for 20, 30, 40 years. When they started their first day, there's a high likelihood that they didn't have insurance experience either. So if you kind of look backwards in that regard, like there's an opportunity to learn. Now, for certain roles throughout the organization, it's an added benefit to have insurance experience. If you have aspirations to be an actuary, an underwriter, whatever it may be, but a lot of these skills and the experience and understanding of the industry is something that you'll either be trained on, or it can be learned through your own personal research. So just kind of a tidbit to keep in mind as you embark on your job search.
Awesome advice. Thank you so much. I have one additional question, and we've talked about this throughout today's chat and today's Coffee Connect. Travelers, will they provide opportunities for advancement within the company? Yes, that is a resounding yes. There is internal mentorship, training programs, all of these different things that Britany was talking about, and that some of the other Travelers team members were talking about. So if you are there and you are tenacious and you are, showing that you want this, they are going to encourage that in you, which is one of the most amazing things about Travelers. Is anything anybody else wants to add to that answer?
No, I think that's spot on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Felicia, I'll just share the personal story. So I'm celebrating year 22 with Travelers. Do not ask me where the time went, because I couldn't tell you today. But I started as a temp. I now lead the experienced recruiting teams here. So if I can do it, you can do it.
22 years is amazing. Congratulations.
Incredible. It's incredible. Yeah.
I love that. And the funniest thing is that's not, we've talked about this before, that's
Very
not
common.
rare. It's so common, right? 5 years, 8
Yep.
years, 12 years.
40 years, a lot of 40-year
yeah.
anniversaries here. So
I joke,
Exactly.
I'm approaching 6 and I'm still baby
You're the
Travelers
baby.
compared to my team.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're looking for a career with advancement, with growth, this is it. This is definitely the place to call home and to find your career for the foreseeable future, excuse me.
I want to say thank you, Felicia. Felicia did an awesome job facilitating and hosting today. So kudos to you. If you enjoyed her facilitation of this call, please give her a thank you in the chat. And a huge thank you to Britany, to Patrick, Jennifer, and Nick. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Jennifer was a military spouse, or is, not active now, but was active. So her 22-year career has been a part of her active duty journey, right, Jennifer?
yes, correct.
Yeah. And so I super want to emphasize here, these two positions, our military spouses at VirtForce are killing it. Killing it. And it is the type of position that you're going to absolutely thrive in. I know Nick touched on it earlier about the amount of military spouses that have been hired in these roles, but you guys, or you everybody, our community, our VirtForce community is running circles around the sales floor. So I know if you apply and you get hired, you are going to be stepping into a team of movers and shakers and influencers who are going to set the pace for you and teach you how to kill it too. So I'm excited. This is an incredible opportunity. Remember to use the links that Miss Katie is providing in the chat, because that is what identifies you as a VirtForce member and an attendee on the call today. So Katie has dropped those in the chat. The email that comes to you with the assessment link in it, you need to be in front of a computer and have at least 18 minutes to work through that. Do not try to attempt it on your phone or somewhere where you might lose internet. Definitely have your desktop in front of you to work through that. And those are all of my tips, other than if you're reaching out to us for support, please include your name, your email address that you use to apply to Travelers, what job specifically you applied for, and when you applied. And I want to just clearly differentiate. We've got these two that we're talking about today that we think you're going to be awesome at because they're remote and they're portable. But also Travelers has a ton of positions that could be in your geographical area or could be in your operational zone of excellence, and you would be willing to go into the office for those or work in a hybrid capacity. So we're here to help liaise and support for both. Make sure that you're clear in your email when you're reaching out to us at hire@virtforce.us, what you've applied for, when, and the email address that you used, so we can do our job to the best of our ability. All right. So thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much, Patrick, Jennifer, Brittany. Do you want to say anything else before we wrap up our call today?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for all the very thoughtful questions too.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Very good. Very good. All right. And thank you to the VirtForce team, and thank you to our amazing military spouse attendees. We cannot wait to see which of you apply. Regardless of whether you need help or not, tell us if you're applying. We want to see. We want to see you. We want to follow your journey. You could potentially be our next speaker, just like Britany, in our next Travelers Coffee Connect. Okay. Talk soon, everybody. Have a great day.